Good morning, Life Mappers. It is great to be back. I hope you've missed me in the last 2 weeks and that you've managed to navigate your days. I suppose I want to say less effectively so that you can keep on watching these videos. We did a 5,500 kilometer round trip from East London to Caprivi in Namibia and back. So it's a lot of time in the car, right? Anyway. Today is the 30th of October 2017, and it's a Monday, of course. So 30 is a 3, and in Jinshin Jitsu, 3 came into the universe meaning the door. It is our defense against problems and discomforts. And safety energy lock number 3, I've told you this before, if you place your heel of your hand on your shoulder, your fingertips, where your fingers rest, sort of right there where if your shoulder blade is like that, here's your spine, here's your shoulder blade, right? I really need to learn how to do illustrations on this thing, right? Just above the tip of the shoulder blade, on the inner surface. That's where safety energy lock number 3 is. And it's a door, it's a swing door. It opens and it closes so that it allows toxins out and nourishment in. And that can be toxins of a physical nature, it can be of an emotional nature. It is also the place at which the mediator, universal harmonizing energy starts. And the mediator is the energy channel in the body, as it were, that connects both sides. It's also the level at which all our emotions and attitudes happen, because when we get stuck in our perceptions, when we become too rigid, when we think that things only have to be a certain way, one way, usually our way, then we start developing attitudes about them. So that's when we start getting stuck in anxiety, or we start becoming angry, or we have expectations, or we start becoming too perfectionistic. So safety energy lock number 3 is really important in regulating that and keeping that balance between taking in and letting out and changing our perceptions and shifting and moving and waltzing more easily through life. So today is a 3, right? 3 is about strategizing. It's about long-term planning. It's about seeing the goal. Now, interestingly enough, the sun is in Scorpio. Listen, I'm no astrologer, so apologies to any astrologers here, all right, for what I'm probably going to get wrong here. But essentially, we've entered the sun sign of Scorpio. And apparently, Jupiter is also about to move into Scorpio, or already has, I don't know, but it's heading that direction. And Jupiter is the planet of expansion. And in fact, Jupiter is the planet that does affect safety energy lock number 3. And so Jupiter is big, all right? And Scorpio is about the underworld. It's about our shadow. It's about the darker aspects of ourselves. So that does not make Scorpios bad. It just means that this is an opportunity for us to really connect with that side. Face our shadows. Face those things that have been holding us back. Get into touch with what it is that we really want. And apparently the energy of astrologically at this time is very intense about getting clear about what you want, about connecting to the darker side of yourselves, about removing obstacles to getting what you want. So 3 is the strategist, it's the general, it's being clear about what you want and where you want to go. So today we have the opportunity to actually connect to that. 3 is also a number of expansion, but by the same token, it can also be a number of extreme rigidity and contraction. So, human beings, we're change averse and we're frightened of change. So when we don't want to, let's say, even acknowledge that we may have a shadow side, let alone have to face it and integrate it, or change any aspect of ourselves, then we generally become quite resistant. So we have the potential in the 3 to either expand greatly out there into the world, within ourselves and outside in the world, but we also have the capacity to become exceedingly rigid about our beliefs and not being convinced that there's any other way and thinking there's only one way. So, if you have a fundamental belief that life is suffering, for argument's sake, you can become completely entrenched in that and not actually even be prepared to acknowledge that there might be an alternative, that maybe life is suffering and joy, or maybe it doesn't have to all be suffering, or maybe you can use the suffering and find the treasure in the suffering, which then enables you to unearth the joy. Those are all possibilities. And if we become very rigid in the 3, then we're not actually even prepared to entertain possibilities. So we can find ourselves rubbing people up the wrong way. We can find ourselves becoming very attached to our egos. And we have still got the double 1 energy of October happening. So October in 2017. So we have the potential to expand ourselves to become a more integrated version of who we really are. That's the true embodiment of the one. That is a marriage between the soul and the ego, or the heart and the mind. And when we can integrate those two in harmony, then we are able to step into the waltz of life. That does not mean that it all becomes peachy, rainbows and lollipops. Shit still happens, okay? However, we are able to negotiate our way around, through, over, much more easily, with less effort and less energy expended and less rigidity and getting stuck in our attitudes. One thing I also want to say is what the rigidity can sometimes be about not being prepared to even feel the feelings, right? Because 3 is a fire number, so it's not really about emotion. It's about expansion and creativity and finding a creative solution to the problem. Sometimes what it requires is just to feel the feeling. So at the moment, I'm actually relatively overwhelmed and quite anxious about this week. I've got 1,000 things to do. Haven't been here for 2 weeks. It's the end of the month. You know, really? That's just one story. It's not necessary. I can choose to become stuck in that, or I can choose to try and rationalize it away, which doesn't actually do anything for my anxiety, or I can just actually acknowledge I'm anxious, I'm overwhelmed, I've been here before. I've managed to get through this perfectly fine. In fact, what it does do is it helps me be focused, and it helps me get on top of my game, and it helps me actually be more organized, and it helps me manage my time more effectively. Those are all blessings in the anxiety and the overwhelm. And in this case, it actually enables me to just take a deep breath and go, you know what, Loretta, you can only do what you can do. That's good enough. So the, I've forgotten the word. The hero of today is the 5. 5 is about adaptation. 5 is about being inventive. 5 is about finding new ways. 5 is about turning obstacles into stepping stones. So that is our hero today. And the challenge of today is the 8. So 8 is, in this position, is about not being able to say no, not having clear boundaries, not saying, you know what, this is all I can do. So I am in great danger, for example, today, of taking on too much, of trying to do too many things, of trying to get my homeopathic assignment, my patients done, my admin all sorted out, catch up on all the emails, sort out the ordering, make sure all the medicine's done, find out how much overtime Sarah's worked and pay her accordingly. What else do I have to do? Sort out going to the dentist, possibly have to make travel plans for next week. I can't do it all today. I actually can't. It's impossible. So that 8 in that lesson position is about us not having strong boundaries. So now that I'm aware of that, I can say, you know what, realistically, this is what I can do today. In fact, realistically, this is what I have to do today. I've got to get up, I've got to get dressed, I've got to make sure there's food, I've got to go to work, I've got X number of patients. While I'm at work, that's all I can do. I can focus one patient at a time, and when work's over, then maybe I'll see how much energy is left and what I can still fit in, and then I've got to go to sleep. So please guard against trying to take on too much, trying to do it too perfectly, trying to over-promising and under-delivering to yourself as well as to others. I'm sorry, this one has run on quite a bit today because I've been banging on. You can hear I haven't had a chance to do this for a while, right? The finger that we hold today is the middle finger. Middle finger is about worry and anxiety, not worry and anxiety, about anger and resentment and disappointment. Middle finger, we get disappointed when we have expectations of how much we can do and we can get done and how we should be performing and all the things we should be getting to that we don't, and how other people should be doing what we want them to be doing, and when they don't, then we get pissed. So middle finger helps us to harmonize that. So hold your middle finger, it'll harmonize your liver and gallbladder, organ function, energy, it will help you detoxify. You could also hold your safety energy lock number 3, like this, and then you can make a ring with your thumb and your ring finger. And so you can sit quietly and you can hold it this way as well. That will also help to open the door, free the energy so that you can get the nourishment in and the waste products out. It's lovely being here again, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.